Thank you for joining us for part two of the interview with State Representative Jim DeSana. If you haven't seen part one yet, please go back and watch part one before watching part two.
And if the Dems will tell you that this law applies to safe storage as it refers to when you have minor youth in the home. And let me tell you a quick story. My grandfather was a bar owner, and he brought wads of cash home every night after his proceeds. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He always carried a gun, and he had 7 children, my dad included in one of them. And so he kept that gun loaded underneath his bed along with his cash. And my grandmother would say, "Hey, the boys need lunch money." They would go in and get money out of the stash for lunch for that day, and they always saw the loaded gun. But guess what? They knew you don't touch Dad's gun. You don't touch. And my grandfather raised 7 children. The entire time he was raising that family, he was a bar owner. The entire time he had a loaded gun. Never once did my father and his brothers and his sisters ever touch the gun, because what are we dealing with today? Just a breakdown in discipline, a breakdown in understanding. You don't go touch a loaded gun. Common sense says don't go pick up a gun.
But
don't pick up a gun, period, unless somebody knows that that your father tells you, "Hey, son, I'm going to show you how to shoot this gun. I'm going to show you how to load this gun."
But I'm sure your grandfather took your dad and plus his brothers and showed them the gun.
Absolutely.
They knew what it could do.
They knew where it was.
They knew what it's for. I raised my kids the same way. I mean, they're all grown now, but I always took my kids. I think me and my boys, we started going to the range right when they're about 9 or 10 years old, and we used to go at least once a month.
Respect for a firearm.
And safety.
Total respect and safety for a firearm. Always, there's protocols, and all of us know these protocols. We know that you don't point a gun at somebody.
No.
You don't pick up a gun. You always assume a gun is loaded unless you know otherwise, and you always double and triple check that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we know. I can tell you, in my district, there's lots of people with loaded guns in their houses. Do I want to restrict that? Absolutely not. And will I fight to defend that? I will fight. I will fight with everything I have to defend their rights to have a gun, to have it loaded in their house. And I will trust my law-abiding citizens to know that they can handle that firearm responsibly. And I do not think the government should be intruding on that. I don't believe in red flag laws. I don't believe we should be taking away people's guns without their due process. Now, if you ask me, well, Jim, what about these crazy people? What about these crazy people that have guns? And I'm going to tell you, the law enforcement knows where these crazy people are. They've paid them visits. They are being, the police are being called for these people. This gentleman, let's strike that word. This person who shot up Michigan State, he had multiple visits from law enforcement, including neighbors complaining that he was shooting out of his back door into his yard. Unlawful discharge of a firearm. So was he charged for that? Absolutely not. So here's the problem with our system. Neighbors call and complain about a person who's mentally unstable, and he's firing a gun in a residential area into a backyard, right, with other houses around. The police come and they want to basically talk to the neighbors and say, "Is everything okay?" Yes, he fired a gun. They didn't go talk to him. It's baffling to me.
Well, from what I read and what I researched myself, I couldn't even find a report that they even went out to his house for that.
It's now established fact that they went to the neighbors, or when the neighbors called the police, they went and talked to the neighbors, but didn't talk to him.
Right. Okay. All right. So, well, they should at least wrote a report, though, even though that they didn't. So, between the DA in 2018 doing what she did, and then the prosecutor in 2019 not pleading him down and not going forward with the felony, because they had enough evidence to move forward with the felony and convict him.
Absolutely.
Okay, so shouldn't they share some responsibility for what took place for not doing their job?
I think all the responsibility lies with our judicial system. I think our judicial system failed miserably, and all of the people that are out there grasping at how to change this, what could prevent this? None of these laws that we're passing would have prevented this.
True. true. I've read through a lot of the laws, um, and I agree with that. Now, from what I've been keeping track of, there's about 7 to 8 bills right now that has already passed the House and the Senate, and that's on Whitmer's desk to be signed. Okay, now are all those gun control bills, or are there is there other bills that are mixed in with
Well,
those?
there's a couple of bills mixed in where they want to give you a tax break for a safe, for a gun safe. So
Okay,
you'd pay no sales tax on a gun safe. I voted no on that too because I just don't think we should be picking and choosing what you pay sales tax on.
okay,
I don't think, I think those are the things that the Dems put in the bill and said, well, we'll give you a tax break on your gun safe, or we'll give you a tax break on your gun locks.
hmm,
Just more and more government overreach into our lives, picking winners and losers, giving tax breaks here, taking tax breaks away. So some of those bills are that, but I believe that one or two of the bills have gone back to the Senate for conference and may come back to us for a final vote.
okay.
But essentially, we have passed safe storage. We have passed a version of extreme risk protection, red flag, and we've passed the universal gun registration for all guns.
Okay, now in one of the bills that I was reading there, okay, which they had something about guns in there, but they also had something about um, pedophiles as well, allowing them to be pretty much go through a school zone, which it right now they can't be, they have to stay so much distance from a school,
Mm.
but now they can enter into a school zone, and they can even actually work in a school from what I read in one of the bills. So to me, that's saying, okay, well, you can't have a gun near a school or on school property, but it's okay for a pedophile to go ahead and go
Yeah, I'm not sure about convicted pedophiles if that was wrapped up in any of the gun bills. I'll have to look at that and see. And that was not called to my attention in any of the gun bills that I voted on.
in
That
there.
I voted no on everything, obviously.
Okay. Hmm.
Um,
I'm not sure if they voted on
there
this
may have
bill
been an
yet or not.
amendment. There may have been an
So
amendment that
okay,
we may have offered an amendment saying that a pedophile could not go into a public school, and they may have disallowed the amendment. They may have voted down the amendment. It doesn't necessarily mean that a pedophile could go into a school. It just means that the Republicans may have offered an amendment. We offered multiple amendments on these bills.
yeah, but none of them were read.
No, they were.
I was watching it, on my computer as it was going on, and every addendum
They
that
were
they
just
came
gavelled
up
down.
with,
They're
yeah,
gavelled down.
and why didn't they read the addendums like they're supposed to? Because I mean, when I've watched this in the past, they've always read what it said before voting on it, but they didn't even read that. They skipped that and voted on it.
They're rushing everything through on all of these bills. They were in a hurry to get them done before spring break. They wanted to get these passed because we're on a 2 week break now for Easter.
Now, what with the new gun control laws that we have, what does that mean for people with a CPL, concealed pistol license?
So it doesn't change anything for your CPL, although they are having there are, for instance, legal CPL holders will not be able to carry their pistol, their legally owned and right to carry pistol into the House office building. They're not going to allow that. They're working their way. They've already taken our staff. Our staff
Hmm.
members cannot carry their pistol. They have a legal right to carry it. They have a permit for it. They can't bring it into the building. So, and they said they're working their way through. It's going to be everybody. So we're going to create again these gun-free zones.
Yeah,
And guess where the shootings are going to be?
in the gun-free zones.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
that's, I mean, it's easier for a criminal to go to a gun-free zone because they know nobody can stop them.
Criminals don't obey
They
laws.
don't. They don't. Well,
We're struggling on this
right.
as a
Well,
society.
how many criminals are gonna obey the red flag laws and stuff
They're
like
laughing
that?
at us.
I mean,
They're laughing at us. They're like, keep restricting legal gun ownership because we will not be bound by any of those laws. And guess what? When we get caught, we're going to get off light because they're going to say this is it's wrong for us to
yeah.
impose these penalties on communities that are heavily minority or
Mhm.
heavily impoverished. And this is what this district attorney in Ingham County, they were arguing. And if you read more into it, it's probably more than what we can talk about here today. they feel like there's a disadvantage in these communities. So don't enforce the laws to the fullest extent because it's actually wrong to do that because we're punishing people for the laws we have on the books. It's just
Yeah.
absolutely it's so upside down, Brian.
Uh,
I can't believe we're where we're at.
I've been reading a lot of these bills and watching. I've been trying to keep up and watch as much as I can, and I just honestly I cannot believe what I'm seeing. You know,
I can believe it.
there was a lot of the procedure stuff while these bills were going through the House and through the Senate. I noticed that they skipped a lot of the procedural
They did
to
come
get
to
these go to
they
get
did
these to
come to
go.
committee on they did hold committee hearings on safe storage and extreme risk and universal gun registration, but they really severely limited those that could speak. And I was not in the committee hearings. I'm not on that committee, but suffice it to say that the Dems rushed these bills through, and they were rushing to get them through before our Easter break. That's what's going on. That's exactly, if you want to read the narrative, they wanted to get these all passed. They have the votes. They have 56 votes in the House. They have enough votes in the Senate. And we even, the most disappointing thing is we even had 5 Republican House members vote for safe storage. And this is the battle we're fighting. This is why we're here talking, and this is what we have to get out to the people who truly believe that our freedoms are being taken away.
Now, what as far as uh, what's already going to on her desk? Okay. Now, the ones that are left that you guys haven't voted on yet,
There's still quite a few.
or they're still writing and doing addendums to them as well.
They're working their way through.
How do you foresee that going on the rest of these bills? Because there's more bills that they're trying to pass, right?
There's more in the pipe. There's more in the pipeline. There is a ban on quote unquote modern rifles, or what people would assume are assault weapons or assault rifles, which is really
There's no such thing.
kind of humorous because every gun can be used as an assault weapon.
Exactly.
There is a bill on semi-automatic, so they want to ban semi-automatic firearms. Another unconstitutional bill.
Well,
I mean, do
of
you know the
course.
Michigan Constitution is actually a bit stronger than the U.S. Constitution on the right to bear arms and that right not being infringed. And yet they're going to pass these laws. They have Supreme Court and court members that are in their favor. They have a majority. They have the trifecta, as they call it. They have the House, the Senate, and they have the governor. And they are hell bent on passing these laws. So get ready, everybody. Get ready for to be like Illinois. I mean, people always laugh. They say, well, you know what? Where are these laws in place that we can have some type of proof whether they work? I'm like, Illinois,
Right.
Chicago. Take a look. They don't work. They just don't. California, they don't work there.
Now, for these laws to have immediate effect, they are supposed to have 2/3 vote within the House and the Senate, or is it
Correct.
both, or just one?
That is correct. And so for it, a lot of times when the bill originates in the Senate, they can give the bill the ability to have immediate effect. But as of right now, the Senate has not been giving immediate effect. So
Okay.
we are having they have very slim majorities, and so immediate effect does take a higher threshold to get it
Right.
to have immediate.
And they're not getting that 2/3 vote
No,
to take immediate
not in the
effect.
Senate. No.
Okay. Now, are they going to try and get these laws to take a immediate effect, even though they didn't get their 2/3 vote?
I don't think that they'll be successful on that. No.
Okay. And what do you think about trying to take a lot of these laws that they're going to pass to the Supreme Court here in Michigan? Do you think we would have any luck there, or would we do better in the federal court?
Well, I think it's going to be both. I don't think we'll have any luck in Michigan because we have so many Democrats on the Michigan Supreme Court. Everybody says the Supreme Court's nonpartisan. We all know that's a farce.
Yeah, that is for us.
The Democrats are going to rule in favor of Whitmer and the House and Senate. So yes, I believe we should be suing. We should be in court suing.
From what I heard, and from what my understanding of what because everybody talks, that there's been a lot of people going to the Capitol lately and watching everything taking place and going on. Now, has any has anybody approached you to kind of squeeze you to or ask you to vote yes on some of these bills?
I get a couple of
And
calls.
are they offering you money to go ahead and vote
No,
yes?
no. Most, I mean, if I get a few calls or a few emails, they may be like I think some Michigan State students contacted me via email and may have called my office. I've gotten a couple of calls to my office, but I will be honest with you, Brian. The information or the callers to my office or the people emailing the office are running 20 to 1, 30 to 1, and saying thank you for standing up and protecting my ability to defend myself. Thank you for standing up for our self-defense rights. We are basically going down a road right now that is if you look at history, and we've talked a lot about this, if people, when governments and societies do this, the opposite effect happens. We actually make ourselves less safe,
Hmm.
and we know this, and it's very disappointing.
Okay. Um, I mean, that's been some of the talk that the Democratic Party has been going to all the Republican uh, representatives and pretty much offering to give them money into their campaigns to
I've
start voting yes.
that's not been I've not been approached with that, and that person would be thrown out of my office post haste.
Okay, good, good. So we're not going to see any yes votes from you on any gun control,
You,
red flag laws, anything, right?
yeah, I should say, read my lips.
Right?
No new gun laws.
There you go. Now, what do you think our chances are of either stalling or even getting some of these bills that after Whitmer signs them, do a lawsuit? Do you foresee that taking a long time and a big
Well,
process?
the courts will be slow. The process through the courts is pretty arduous, but I do believe that a lot of these laws will be challenged in court. I think that even our CPL restrictions in our own offices will be challenged in court. But
Okay.
this is the problem when you have Democrats in charge. They're in charge of our office building. Even we don't even have our freedom to defend ourselves in our office building because the Dems are saying you can't bring your CPL. You cannot protect yourself in your office, coming down the elevator, going to the parking lot. You can't have that gun. So they're talking about escorts and things like that for some of the women legislators who are walking in Lansing late at night. And
Well,
so
why? I mean, why should anybody get an escort? Because that's more taxpayer money. Yeah, those people ain't gonna do it for free.
no,
So they're gonna have to be paid.
we do have security in our building, obviously, and we have good people working in security in our building. But what we're talking about are people that would do harm to somebody on your way to your car, um, robbing you on the street.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to stand here and tell you that if it was just somebody looking for money, that I would necessarily automatically jump to armed defense. However, I do believe that a law-abiding citizen having the ability to defend themselves prevents crime. And a law-abiding citizen being someplace armed, and we see this every day in America, stop aggression from criminals. When it's only the criminals that have the guns, we're in trouble.
Yeah, well,
That's where we're headed.
that's I'd say that's probably where we're at.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
absolutely.
not. I mean, it's already here.
Yeah.
Getting back to the shooter at MSU, um, as as far as putting that person down and the the memos that came out of the district attorney's office, do you think race played a part in a lot of that or no?
Well, the prosecutor even said as much that they were going light on these sentences because of that they felt that this was unfair If you read back into the history of why she was going light on gun crime, going light on violent crime, it was all because they thought that certain communities were being discriminated against and getting harsh penalties. It comes back to all this, even in criminal justice reform. They feel like our prisons are, there's a disproportionate representation, and there is. And maybe there are some things that we can look at in regards to that. I think drug crime, um, certain aspects of drug crime, we do end up incarcerating a lot of inner city people because of drugs. However, wrapped up in that is also a lot of violent crime. You know, robberies, armed robberies, carjackings, shootings.
Well, they got to pay for their drugs.
Absolutely, and
That's the only way that they know how. That's the only way they're going to be able to do it because nobody's going to hire somebody that's on drugs. You're not going to be able to hold a job.
so now we want to go light on drug crime.
Mm-hmm.
We want to decriminalize most drugs, and I'm not saying that I'm opposed to some decriminalization. However, I will tell you that when someone commits a crime and there's somebody either armed robs, carjacks, shoots, they need the fullest sentence. In my opinion, they were going to take somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
They need the full sentence without parole, and if they kill somebody, they need the full sentence without parole.
Well, I mean, they could wind up killing more than just one.
We see it every day.
Person, you know. So, well, I mean, we know why criminals are criminals. So why not make better laws for drug crimes and for, you know, gun laws that are pointed more towards the criminals more than it is law by citizens. I mean, that to me makes more common sense.
I remember when my dad was in the state legislature, they had a bill I asked him about. They attached a harsher penalty on any crime committed with a gun involved. If it was a robbery, a carjacking, you robbing somebody on the street, any crime that was committed with a gun carried a much stiffer penalty. I believe a lot of those laws are still on the books.
Should.
Yeah, absolutely.
As it should.
You are basically threatening somebody's life. They are not going to be able to resist somebody with a gun. Now, it just really comes back to criminals don't obey laws. So one person joked with me, they said, I got the solution to this whole problem. When you buy a gun, you just sign an affidavit that this gun will not be used in the commission of any crimes, and then attach heavy penalties on anyone who commits a crime with a gun.
A criminal, they're not going to go to like Cabela's and buy a gun.
They'll sign the paper and say they'll sign. Yeah, no, a lot of their guns are on the black market.
Yeah, they're going to go. They just buy it off the street, which I know a lot of these illegal guns are coming in from the border because of our border being open to Mexico, and as we got at least 1.2 million people, I think, so far this year. So far,
well, we know
has come over.
We know, yes, we know that people who want to secure firearms legally, the law-abiding citizens will go through the law, will go through the process. The criminals won't.
We will be talking with State Representative Jim DeSana more in the future. I hope you enjoyed this part 2. Please like, share, and follow